everyone. Welcome back to the Command Your Brand Show. I'm your host, Josh Silvestro, brand ambassador of Command Your Brand. In this episode, I have a very special guest speaker, which I would love to talk to about. He's a, I don't even know how to describe him. He's a medical school professor. He's the CEO of 3 companies. And I'm sure he's going to go into all those things of what those companies are and what he's a medical professor of. So I'd like to introduce you guys to Dr. Gary. So thanks, Dr. Gary, for joining our show.
Fantastic, Josh. Hey, it's great. It's really good.
Yeah. Okay, good, man. So I guess, why don't we start off with, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into your field.
Sure. Starts back in medical school, I guess, down in New Orleans. A great place to go to medical school. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
And from there, I went on to learn more medicine in New York at Harlem Hospital. That was quite a trip. And then ended up here in Boston, where I did research in the lungs, a lot of lung research. And along the way, I gave seminars on health, good things about health. And one of them was be your true self. And it was a few years ago. It's phenomenal. Just be yourself. It's the most amazing thing you can do. And somebody says, how do you do that? I had no idea. I didn't know. So I said, I'll do some research, get back to you. Well, I did. And that was in December of 2019. I discovered how to do that. And so that's what I've been doing ever since is developing it's a philosophy of know who you are moment by moment. And I've been developing that ever since, and it's just leading to more fantastic things after another.
Yeah, that's really cool. I guess could you tell us a little bit more about it? Like what got you to discover that and just use that?
Well, that question, that question is what it was. Yeah. That question was it. It was the start, and trying to find the answer to that because we're really not our true selves to begin with. I mean, in grade school, you're who your teacher tells you to be, and your parents tell you to be, and if you're not, you'll hear about it. And then you get into school, into college. Even in college, you're kind of who your friends want you to be, your professor wants you to be. That's not you. And then you start a job. Well, you're who your boss wants you to be, or if you're not, you get fired. And all this time, society is telling you, oh, you got to do this, you got to do that. That's not you. That's not us. And along the line, you really need to be your true self. And for me, it happened. My friend Bob was chief of medicine at a hospital here in Boston. And that's the most fantastic thing for a doctor. Oh, it was great. I loved it. But here's the deal. I was chief of medicine at the hospital, walking around the halls. I was chief of medicine socially. And I was chief of medicine, this and that. That's not me. I'm not chief of medicine. I'm me. And my friend Bob says, you got to get out of there. It's holding you back. Holding you back. I said, well, you're nuts. This is a dream job. Yeah. And fortunately, they threw me out. Absolutely threw me out. Get out. We don't need you anymore. I said, oh, okay. All right. And it's best thing that ever happened because I had 2 choices. I could go get another title, another job or whatever it was, or just go out on my own. And I says, I'm not smart enough for that. That was my first thing. I'm not smart enough. I don't know anything. Everybody else knows things, the professors and CEOs and things. I don't know anything, but I do.
Yeah.
And of course it was a little tough, yeah, but it was the best thing I ever did. And I continue to this day. And so that's why I wanted to answer that question. And everybody doesn't have a Bob.
Yeah.
So I found out a way, and it works. It's phenomenal. And it's the first time actually in 3,400 years. It was this know thyself 3,400 years ago. And nobody knows how to do it, but I do.
It's very interesting that you mentioned that was, as you're kind of growing up, you kind of don't know who you are, and you're kind of like figuring things out because you're like,
Right.
how do I do this? How do I do that? What should I do? What shouldn't I do? And
That's right.
It's very interesting because I'm like, I think a lot of people kind of get that in all of their life.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Some don't even figure it out till they're 50.
Unfortunately, some never do.
Yes.
We have people all stressed out their whole life. Humans aren't stressed. Mm-hmm. Zero stress. Humans aren't stressed. Animals are, and that kind of thing. And anger. People, they're angry. Come on. That's not human. No anger. It's not needed. You don't, as a human, being yourself. Yeah. And so you're right. And some people in their 50s, and some people never do.
Yeah. So I guess for like you, like, how did you find your passion? How did you find, because a lot of people probably need help with that. And I think a lot of people who are listening want help with, how do I find my passion? How do I find the things that I love? Like, what do I do to really find that thou self, if you want to say that?
Yeah. That's an interesting question about finding your passion. You often hear now, find your passion and then you'll have a great life and a great job. Mm-hmm. There is something to that, but the way I look at it is, as far as finding a job or doing what you want to do with the rest of your life, is whatever you enjoy doing, whatever it is. Just expand on that. You enjoy tinkering with cars. You enjoy taking pictures. You enjoy playing the piano. You enjoy writing. You enjoy discovering things. And that's that. That's what it is. And go with that. And it will become a passion. Oh, it will. And you just keep building and building and building on that. And that's how you do it.
Yeah, that's very cool because, like one of my passions in life, I love to help people and love to help other people do things that they want to do. So
it's fantastic.
Yeah.
Actually, that's been my sort of mission in life. I didn't even realize it was, but I just want to improve people's lives.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. And everything I do, I love it because everything I do, whether it's writing or podcasts or anything, developing products.
Yeah.
Just anything to improve people's lives. That's a passion. It's not work. It's just enjoyable the whole day.
Yeah. What do you think people run into in terms of like actually people achieving those things that you've achieved, or even me myself achieved? What do you think people run into?
Here's what happens.
Yeah.
Here's exactly what happens. We have a brain called the primitive brain. Mm-hmm. And you start out, there's a little pot of cells, and then at age 9 months, those cells are into a primitive brain, and boom, out pops the baby. And that primitive brain gets that infant through that first year. Cry for something to eat, cry to get a diaper changed. That's instinctive.
Yeah.
And right? Instinctive. Primitive brain, phenomenal. It's still with us and it'll save our lives. The problem is functional MRI studies. These are MRI studies of the brain show that you can think from that primitive brain. And you don't need to think from there because thinking from there is anger. Number one. Number two, stress. Yeah. And I'll throw out addiction as well, but that's a minor thing. But this is called the primitive brain, and it has the anger center in there. It has the stress center. And it's not for thinking, and is what gets people into problems. And the whole society at the moment is you get stuck thinking from that primitive brain with stress, and here's a lot of other things. The complaining, that's from there, criticizing and judging, all that, that's from that primitive brain. And then things like guilt and worry and guilt can destroy countries. I mean, it's you get a bunch of leaders that are guilty about something. I mean, God, they can destroy things. And then, of course, you have anger, and you know exactly what anger can do. Millions and millions of people die from one person being angry. And that's all from this primitive brain. And that's not the human brain. And that's what gets people into, actually, society into problem. And that's the whole point of being yourself. That's from the prefrontal lobe. That's from the human brain. That's what we've been given a human brain for. And there's two things that human brain does. It's kindness. Kindness to yourself and kindness is number one thing. And the other, help each other. That's it. That's human. Kindness and help. There's no aggression. Humans aren't aggressive. That's that primitive brain. Humans aren't angry, not stressed. Zero. None. It's all about kindness and helping each other. That's the human brain.
Yeah.
And you got to shut that primitive brain down, and I'll tell you how to do that later.
That's very cool. And I guess like as a one thing I was very curious about, because I know you're a CEO and founder, right? And you have the ability to lead others in a very correct way. I guess could you share like with our audience, like what do you, because we have a lot of people who are CEOs and who run other people, like what do you feel people should do or shouldn't do as a leader?
Sure, this is an easy one.
Yeah.
It's my CEO story.
Mm-hmm.
I was talking to a CEO several months ago here in Boston, ran a very, was a CEO of a medical device company. Mm-hmm. And and I was talking to him about his company and so forth and selling the company. And he could not finish a sentence. Wow. He was so stressed out, so stressed. His face, he's in his 40s. He stressed. He could not finish the sentence. I was, what's going on with this guy? And he off the charts. He was stressed, heart attack stressed. I mean,
wow.
And here's the reason. He was his previous CEO. It was a startup, 3 or 4 year startup. Previous CEO, the board, get out. Yeah, threw him out and fired him. And so he replaced him. And he was absolutely capable. This guy was fantastic for a CEO. But here's what he did. He wanted to please the board. He wanted to please so he wouldn't get fired. He wanted to please the employees so that he would keep the board and and he wanted to please the community so they'd give him a good name, all so that he wouldn't get fired. That's not the job of a CEO. That's him. That's him. Mm. That's thinking about himself. That's this primitive brain, egocentric brain. That's not a CEO. A CEO makes decisions that are best for the organization, best for the employees and their families, makes decisions and best for the community. That's what the CEO's job is. It has nothing to do with trying to save your job and protect your job. That's meaningless. And those decisions, if you're a CEO, you make those decisions that are best for that organization. Not best for you. As a matter of fact, they may even hurt you. And if they do, you get fired, so be it. I mean, if the board doesn't like my decisions, those are mine, and they're in the best interest of this company. For example, you make a decision as a CEO that long term is going to be extremely beneficial. Short term, it's going to be painful one way or the other. And the board, you don't make any money or something. You're not making enough money. And the board, get rid of this. But that's not the case. You're doing the right decision. And if the board fires you, fine. I don't want to be in this company,
Right.
And so that's the idea. Be your true self first. Mm-hmm. Then you can be a phenomenal CEO.
Right. So I guess what are some tips that you can give about how can someone lower their stress as a CEO or running people? What are some things that you would give advice to other people about that?
Well, here it is. Here it is. This is how you're yourself. How to be yourself.
Yeah.
Slow down the brain waves. Slow down the brain waves just a little bit, and you're in what I call the mind. Mm. And the mind is not the brain. The brain is this physical thing that I just told you about, this primitive brain. We don't need that. Right. We need it for save our lives, but we don't need to think from there. And it's got that prefrontal lobe. That prefrontal lobe has a capability, unlike any other species on the planet, maybe even in the universe, that can connect with the universe. That's the mind. The mind is a universe, and the mind has every bit of information, knowledge, events that have ever happened, that are happening today, and will ever happen in the future. It's all there. The science is in the bosons, but that's a different story. But it's all there. That's what the mind is. That's the mind, not the brain. And that prefrontal lobe can connect with and live in there, live there. It's a huge amount of energy. It's creativity, innovation to develop new products, new companies to help people improve this world. It's all there, and you can live there, so slow down the brain waves. Well, how do you do that? Well, you meditate. Well, that's correct. Meditation will teach you what that feeling is, but you don't have to be a monk in a monastery to meditate like that. No, you do it all the time, all day long. You're in this kind of slow brainwave state. That's where I am now, the slow brainwave state. And daydreaming. That's what that is. That's that slow brainwave state. And when you're in the flow, it's called in the flow. When you're doing something you love to do right now, you're in the mind. You're not in this primitive brain thing. You're in the mind, and everybody's in the mind throughout the day. When they're doing something they love to do, when time slows down or speeds up, and it's enjoyable. It's just joy, and you can't have that experience in our primitive brain level, and that's at 14 cycles per second, and then the sort of the alpha, it's called alpha brainwave state, is at 10 to 12 cycles per second, just a tiny slow.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting that you mentioned that, because I find it's kind of an interesting point you put out was like, I find when you're actually more calmer in life or in working, you actually get more things done.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Like when you run people, especially, like you have a whole organization that you run, and when you're in a mindset of like, okay, like let's chill out, let's organize a little bit, and that's how it actually just gets organized, because you're so in it, but you're not like angry about it, or you're like, you're
not in the primitive brain,
right?
And the exciting thing that I just realized over the last 4 or 5 months is a thing called quantum biology.
Oh my God, yes, I would love to go into that. Tell us a little bit about that.
And without quantum biology, this wouldn't be possible.
Yeah, I guess so. Tell us a little bit about that.
Fantastic. Well, it's quantum biology. It starts back at Einstein had his classical physics.
Yeah.
And a group came along, Heisenberg and a few of these guys came along and said, hey, we got a new thing called quantum mechanics. And Einstein says, you're crazy. It doesn't make any sense. And it doesn't. It absolutely makes no sense at all. Yeah. And then recently it's been applied to quantum biology. and there's 4 principles. And they apply to exactly what we've been talking about. Being human, thinking from the human brain. And the first principle is you can have an object in 2 places at one time, same time. You can be in 2 places at once. Well, that's crazy. That doesn't make any sense, and it's correct. It makes no sense and no common sense, and certainly in classical physics, you can't be in 2 places at once. Well, you can. I'll give you an example. Take a box, put a cat in it, and put it right here on the table. You and I you're over there, I'm here. Put it right there on the table, big box. Cat's in there. Where's the cat? Well, you could say, I don't know. Well, I could say, I don't know. You don't. But the cat can be in the middle. The cat can be in the side. The cat can be in the corner. The cat can be over there. The cat can be in 2 places at the same time. You with me?
Yeah.
It's true. Come on. It's true.
Yeah.
Now, you and I get up and look in the cat and look in the box. There's a cat, and cat's in the middle. Oh, well, that's classical physics. So we've converted quantum physics, which the cat can be in 2 places at once, which is absolutely true. Can be there, to classical physics. Oh, the cat's there. All right. So that's the first principle. It's called superposition as the name. But here's where it applies to this philosophy that I've dubbed the strategy of being your true self and being human is this. We can think from 5 places, 5 locations. We can think from 5 locations. You can think, and with this quantum biology, lets us think from 4 places all at the same time. The first one is from the heart with kindness. And when you think from the heart with kindness, that's not from the primitive brain. That's from the heart with kindness. Right. And that kindness is a phenomenal thing. It really is. And the first thing, you have to be kind to yourself. You really do. We screw up all the time. We make mistakes. We fail at things. We get rejected. You just be kind to yourself and move on. And it's the kindness. And the second place is the gut. Come on. You've heard about that for thousands of years. What's your gut telling you? Well, use it. It's very valuable. It's for, number one, it's for nutrition. I mean, it has got the best advice ever. Just listen to it. Yeah. It won't say it in words, but boy, it'll tell you, don't eat that. Well, anyhow, but it's risk management. And risk management, should I do that deal with that guy or not? Oh, it'll tell you. And then third, so that's the heart with kindness, the gut with risk management, and then you've got the body with strength. And that you really can think from that all by itself. And take an athlete, take we got our Red Sox guys, and of course we got Tom Brady. Yeah. And they don't think from this at all. It's all the body and the mind, which I'll get into. That's what makes Tom Brady a quarterback, a real one. Thinking from the mind. Average quarterbacks think from the head. Physics. Let's see, you got some pass there. That's physics. All the other team has to do is pick the ball up and go for a touchdown. And that's thinking from this primitive brain. But Tom Brady, oh, no. He doesn't do that. He uses the body, one. It's going to go what it always does. He doesn't have to think about that. And he uses the mind. And the mind tells him with energy where each of those players are and are going to be in the next 5 seconds. That's what he does. And that's this whole thing of you can think from 4 places all at the same time. And you could not do that without quantum biology. Quantum physics isn't you can't do that with classical physics. You're nuts. But not with quantum biology. So you can think from all those and thinking from the heart with kindness, and thinking from that mind, again, the mind, the creativity and innovation and the combination to develop products and ideas and just to help people just day to day. That's all there. And so that's the quantum biology thing. You can think from all those 4 places. And the exciting thing is you cannot think from the primitive brain. It's automatic. You don't have to say, oh, God, I'm not supposed to think about myself. Oh, I'm not supposed to think about my problems. Oh, no. You don't have to think about anything because automatic. You cannot have a single thought from that primitive brain when you're in this slow brainwave state from all these 4 places. And that's amazing. I just figured this out just a few months ago. Wow. That's the most amazing thing ever. Yeah. You can't have the feeling of anger. All right now, you can't. You're in the mind right now. You cannot have anger. What's that feel like? Stress? What? Criticism? Judgment? And jealousy and what are those worry and it's just, you can't have those feelings. It's fantastic.
Yeah, that's very interesting what you mentioned about that. I think it's really important to have those because your mind is your most powerful tool. And I think somewhere, I forget who said this, but someone says that the mind is the most powerful tool man has, so I think it's such a powerful thing, what you said about that we need to use that and actually utilize it and be better who we are, and not blame ourselves for those things. Yeah, that's a human.
Yeah, that's what we've been given, this prefrontal lobe.
Right.
It does take 25 years to develop. So when you're a teenager, you make kind of dumb mistakes because you don't have that prefrontal lobe. But anyhow, that's what that prefrontal lobe is for, is to use the mind.
Yeah. Well, I think it's kind of interesting what you mentioned because, as we are a human, we're not like AI figures or we're not robotics. We make mistakes, and that's part of being human is having the ability to accept mistakes and live forward from there.
Oh, easily. And we're not crocodiles.
Right.
We're not monkeys.
Right.
We're not crocodiles. Come on. We're not angry, not humans. No anger, no stress. Crocodiles do. I mean, they got that primitive brain. That's all they have.
Yeah.
They don't have it. So there you go.
That's great. Now I have a question. Could you give me like one success story as like for yourself you've given to someone that really helped them really become a better person, or even just a better CEO founder that has helped them be better?
Well, sure. It's that CEO I told you about.
Yeah.
He was stressed out, stressed to the max.
Yeah.
He's some 40 years old. And the success story is hey, wake up, just be yourself.
Yeah.
Forget about getting fired. Forget about the board. Forget about anything. Just make a decision that's best for that organization, not what's best, what you think is best or what best for you. Make it look at that organization. This is a decision for this organization, not for me, and nothing to do with me. And you've got to totally erase this concept of being a person almost. It's not. You make a decision for that organization. And he went on to do that. And it's flourishing. He is as a person, and of course, the organization is fine. But that's what it is. It's not about yourself. It's not me, me, me. We are currently living in what I call a primitive brain society. People are living in their primitive brain and behaviors from primitive brain. It's all about me, me, me. And that is not human behavior. It is not. Right. I was driving down to work out a couple of days ago here down the street. And it was 6, 7 in the morning, and the school was starting. So there's a lot of cars kind of moving along. And I just hanging out. This beautiful day. I was moving along, and boom, right behind me came this car, tailgating.
Yeah.
And whoa, that's not human. You could feel it. You could feel it, And I looked in the mirror, and here's the person. His scowl on their face. That's not human. No, that's not human. And the third thing in the left hand was a cell phone. That is dangerous non-human behavior. That is really, really dangerous. There's people right this minute in hospitals dying because somebody was talking on their phone while driving. And that is not human behavior. There's 3 things. Just write 1, 2, 3. That's not being a human. Because humans are not stressed, they're not angry, and they're not aggressive.
Yeah. What do you think causes the most stress, do you think? Like, what do you think is like the top couple things that you think would actually cause the most stress as a person, or even as founder or CEO?
Sure, 3. The top 3 are real easy. It's money, job, relationships. That's it. Those 3 things. Those are settings to cause stress. And then I'm in those settings. Everybody's in those settings. But those are the 3 settings to cause stress. That doesn't mean you have to be stressed. I have zero stress. No matter what the situation is, I have zero stress because I can't think from that primitive brain. And the primitive brain is what triggers stress. For example, you have a 5 or 7-year-old throw a temper tantrum in a toy store to get a toy. Well, it's very effective. It works.
Yeah.
The kid's stressed. The parents are absolutely stressed out. Everybody else is. The store, that's stress. All right. Now, is what the issue, the thing that everybody has missed, and maybe for centuries, doctors, scientists, everybody have missed this, that stress is a clue to that kid not to behave this way. That's what stress is. You don't behave this way. Boom, you're going to get stressed. If you get angry, you're going to get stressed. If you criticize somebody, stressed. Judge somebody, stress, jealousy, these worry and the guilt, all of these, if they cause stress, that's a little sign telling you no, don't do that behavior. And because that's primitive brain behavior. It's thinking from the primitive brain. That's not what the primitive brain is for.
Right.
And maybe in 10,000, 50,000 years from now, we won't have to worry about that. People won't think from there anymore. But right now, as I said, unfortunately, we have a primitive brain society. But that's what stress is. And so it's not the situation, the money, the job, the relationships. That's just the setup. I mean, you don't have to be stressed with any of those if you're living in the mind, being a human, living in the mind with kindness and helping each other.
Yeah.
Zero stress.
Yeah.
So there you go.
That's great. So I guess one of my questions I actually want to ask you, because I know you're in this whole area, is what do you think is the single best health habit for brand success? What do you think what is the one thing that you think would actually help people be a success in their brands?
Easy. Be your true self. Just be your true self. If you're a marketing agent and marketing person and your specialty is branding, you don't do it by the books. No books. You don't do it by some mentor telling you how to do it. You do it by being yourself. Be your true self. Because you're not cluttered up with all the stress. You're not cluttered up with people's expectations. You have none. Expectations are meaningless, whether they're society expectations or your client expectations, because that's a primitive brain thing. that's not a mind thing. And so that's the single best thing anyone can do. Be yourself. And sure, you can learn all of those things. Obviously, to learn how to be a CEO and learn how to be a branding, you can get all the advice you want and then some. But when it comes right down to that, doing that right in front of you, be your true self. And yes, there are some consequences to being your true self. You're going to get criticized.
Yeah.
You're going to get, maybe people are going to make fun of you, say, "Oh God, what is he talking about?" And you're going to make mistakes, and you're going to get your failures after failures and your rejections, all those things, all those are consequences. But you get those anyhow, right? I mean, just be yourself. and because you are yourself, you did all those things. So it's easy to fix them yourself, fix them. And if they're not worth fixing, forget about them. Don't think about them. That's another quantum biology thing. It's called the quantum observer. Remember, I told you stand up and, hey, you've converted quantum biology into classical biology. Oh, the cat's right there.
Yeah.
Well, it's called the quantum observer effect. And here's how you can use it. You see somebody in a restaurant arguing, or out in the street arguing. Well, that's stressful, right? That's stressful. That's classical biology causing stress. Don't look. Do not look. Just don't look. You have no stress, right? That's quantum biology. You have no stress. So you've converted real biology into quantum biology. Right? Don't look, and then you can take it further. You can say, well, you see a sad face. Well, it makes you sad. Don't look. You hear criticism, conversation about how bad you are. You just, oh, God, you're a horrible person. You hear that. Don't listen. Don't listen. You don't hear it. And my favorite that I use every day is you make a mistake, you get rejected, you fail at something. Don't think about it. Don't think, not one single thought. And it didn't happen.
Right.
It did not happen. And here's the science. The science is we have 7 slots of acute memory, and it lasts 15 to 30 seconds. So you put an event in there, an event there, an event there, and eventually it'll go away. So if you don't put that mistake, if you don't think about it, it doesn't get in the memory slot. An hour later, what? You cannot remember what you did.
Right.
So that's quantum biology.
That's great.
Use it.
Yeah.
I use it all the time.
Now, it's interesting that you put it that way because, you know, a lot of people, when they're going through life, even like regular people, it doesn't even matter if it's CEOs or founders, that a lot of the things that they think about the most is their past your mistakes or their past things that they've done, you know?
What a waste.
It is a waste. Yeah. And
it's a waste of time. It's stress.
Yeah.
And it takes away from enjoying that moment.
Right.
It really, really does.
Right.
And you know, you mentioned how do you be your true self, slow those brain waves down? How do you slow the brain waves down? Well, you learn how to do it on your own. Either you learn it through daydreaming, you learn it through meditating, or you learn anything, just slow the brainwaves down. And a few months ago, it was February of this year, I was down to Falmouth, Cape Cod, beautiful place.
Yeah.
And I went for my morning run. But I woke up, I was in my head. I could not get out of there. Negative thoughts swirling. Come on, get out. I couldn't do it. I tried all my little tricks. I have about 10 ways to get out of that. And they didn't work. And about 10 minutes gone by, 15 minutes, I got down to the beach to do my run. And the sun was just starting to come up. The little sliver of the sun started to come up. The sky was beautiful blue. And the North Atlantic Ocean was that winter, crisp. It was beautiful. And then the seagulls kind of followed me along on their morning rounds on my run. I was in the mind, absolutely out of that primitive brain. And that was the morning that I realized I was in the mind. So that was 10 to 12 cycles per second. And I had a huge amount of energy. I felt just fantastic. I mean, I just tons of energy. And I was all creative and innovative. I was coming up with some ideas about something. And I realized, well, I'm running along here. I'm not in a cave. I'm not in a monastery meditating, sitting there, spaced out. No, I was the opposite. I was out there with 10 times more energy and everything than you are at this 14 cycles per second. So that's what I realized. Hey, let's live here in the mind like you are right at the moment.
Yeah. So I think it's very cool. Yeah. I think it's just the actual, it's the state of mind, almost like the mindset. You have to like actually look forward rather than look back. I don't know if that makes more sense because like,
oh, absolutely.
Because when you look back, it's just nothing actually helps. Nothing actually gets done.
No.
Yeah.
No, it's like worry. I mean, what does worry do?
Yeah.
People, moms and dads, oh God, I worry about my daughter going to the party, my son going to the party, and it makes me a good mom. Well, it doesn't help the son any.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, it's usually the other way around. Dad will say, oh, enjoy that party, but you don't want to hang out with those bad people.
Yeah.
You know, don't go doing this and don't do that. That's what the kid is left with, some negative thing. And that puts them, well, they will get in an accident. Something will happen because they never would have thought of that. Right. Just say, hey, have a great time.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And that's what worry is. And it's a waste. It's a waste. And not only a waste, but it takes you away from enjoying the moment. And that's what, when I woke that morning in February, I had these negative things swirling around. I was upset because it was taking me away from that moment, enjoying that moment. I just love every moment. It's just so great. And I want to enjoy the moment. What is going on?
Yeah.
And fortunately, I got rid of it in 10 minutes. But that's really what it is. And being stressed about the mistakes you make as a CEO. Yeah, you can lose $1 million. You can whatever. You can destroy the company. You didn't do that on purpose, and it's not you who did that. It was everything else. And so forget it. Forget it. Don't think. It's not a matter of forgetting.
Yeah.
Don't think about it. The key word is don't think about it. You're never going to forget things like that. That's not the point.
Right.
Don't think about it, because every thought about that takes you away from enjoyment and from going forward and doing the right thing. And that's really what it's about. No thoughts about the negative past or even a negative future. Okay, we're going to lose the company. Oh, we're going to do that. No thoughts. Zero thoughts. Negative thoughts about the future, about the past. And of course, no negative thoughts about now. It's just, you don't need to.
Right.
There's no need to.
Awesome. Well, I thank you for joining the show, because we're about to head to the end here. I do want to ask one last question for our people who are listening and CEOs or founders. How can people reach out to you? How can people find you in your activities or your companies? How can people reach out to you?
Oh, sure. There's all kinds of ways. Check out YouTube, all kinds of podcasts on YouTube and so forth.
Yeah.
And send me an email.
Yeah.
I always answer emails. It's GaryEpler@gmail.com. And the website, Epler Health. You can get a hold of me there. And there's just all kinds of ways. I'd love to hear from you.
Awesome. Well, thank you for joining the show. And thanks for Gary for being a guest speaker. And of course, we love everyone who is listening here to definitely check him out, because I think it's very important, and he has some amazing advice, and he can definitely help you with whatever you need. And of course, you can definitely like and subscribe to this video if you guys like more of this stuff. And of course, we'll see you guys in the next episode. All right. Thank you so much, Gary, for joining. And thank you everyone for listening.
Hey, Josh, great to see you.
All right, man. All right.